The drinks are free, but the exit is sealed. No one remembers what happens after midnight. That's exactly how they want it. My name is Liam Hart. I'm 30 years old, an IT guy by trade, but mostly I'm a storyteller. My YouTube channel, Urban Echoes, is where I dissect the forgotten whispers of the city, the legends, the unexplainable disappearances, the cases that make even hardened detectives scratch their heads. I've always considered myself a skeptic, a cynic, even. Every ghost has a draft. Every alien sighting is a drone. I deal in facts, in evidence, in the cold, hard logic of the digital world. Or at least I used to. Then came the video, a grainy, pixelated mess, sent to me by an anonymous subscriber, showing a man inside a San Francisco club. He's dancing, laughing. Then, he simply isn't. Not a collapse, not a sudden exit, but a literal evaporation, like smoke dissolving into the air. One moment, he was there. The next, a distortion, then nothing. My analytical brain immediately flagged it as a possible fabrication. I spent 3 days trying to disprove its authenticity. I ran it through every video analysis tool I owned, checked for pixel anomalies, digital overlays, anything, nothing. It was either perfectly executed trickery or profoundly real. The subscriber, using the handle Watcher Alpha, provided only one clue, a vague description of how they'd obtained the QR code. They mentioned a fleeting pop-up advertisement, a blinking symbol on a forgotten corner of the internet. It all sounded like the kind of myth I typically dismissed, but the video gripped me. It was the digital equivalent of a chilling stain on a pristine wall. I searched for the man in the video. His face was sufficiently clear for facial recognition software. No matches on public databases, no social media profiles that corresponded. He was already a ghost. Before he vanished, my initial thought gravitated toward a sophisticated, exclusive disappearance ring or a new form of human exploitation. The Backroom Bar concept felt like a front for something deeply unsettling, a place where significant transactions occurred and individuals simply faded away. I posted a clip of the video, blurring the man's face, on my private forum, seeking any information. The silence that followed was unnerving. Most viewers assumed it was a brilliant special effect. A few, however, spoke in hushed tones about the Mirror Man, a new unsettling urban legend linked to inexplicable disappearances. As I delved deeper, the Backroom Bar became the undeniable focus. People claimed it existed, yet no one could provide a physical address. It was always described as somewhere in the Mission District, or behind a nondescript door in North Beach. Like a phantom limb, its presence was felt, but it remained elusive. My usual contacts, underground club promoters, tech-savvy urban explorers, even a few former security professionals, had heard whispers, but nothing concrete. It was as if the bar actively resisted being located, a digital fortress guarded by transient codes and an aura of absolute secrecy. This wasn't merely a point of interest. It was a void. This isn't just another urban legend. This is different. This feels alive. It feels like a genuine criminal mystery, tangled with something far more ancient and terrifying. I'm not chasing shadows anymore. I'm stepping into the light of something truly dark, a place where people don't just disappear, they cease to be themselves. This investigation, born from a digital anomaly, quickly became a chilling journey into the very fabric of identity and the desperate fight to hold on to it. It's a story about losing yourself, not just figuratively, but literally, in an age saturated with digital ghosts and overwhelming loneliness. This is my confession. This is what I found. If you're watching, I need you to understand. This isn't just a story. It's a warning. A week after I uploaded the video, an email landed in my inbox. No sender name, just an anonymous address. The subject line read, "Your search for the truth ends here." My pulse quickened. Attached was a vivid GIF, a shimmering iridescent QR code. It pulsed with a faint blue light, then began to fade. A digital timer appeared below it. 2 minutes and 58 seconds. I instinctively grabbed my phone, opened a QR scanner, and aimed. My hand trembled slightly. This was it. The point of entry. The scan led to a stark white web page containing only one line of text. The Backroom Bar, tonight. Midnight. You'll know the way. No address. No explicit instructions. Just that chilling promise. A wave of apprehension washed over me. Yet it was swiftly overshadowed by an unyielding curiosity. This was precisely what my channel existed for. This was the dark underbelly of urban legend, revealing itself. I spent the next few hours meticulously preparing. I told my roommate I was embarking on an all-night coding marathon. A common enough excuse for me. I left my wallet, my identification, anything that could trace me at home. I carried only my old reliable digital voice recorder and a small high-resolution camera. My phone remained on airplane mode in my pocket, just in case. Walking the streets of San Francisco that night felt different. The city's usual vibrant hum was replaced by a low thrum of anticipation. Every shadow seemed deeper. Every alleyway held a hidden secret. I kept my eyes peeled, searching for anything out of place, anything that could signify the way. Midnight approached, and I was still wandering, feeling increasingly foolish. Then, as I turned onto a deserted side street near the financial district, I saw it, a faint, almost imperceptible glow, emanating from a single, unadorned black door, tucked between a boarded-up bookstore and a closed-down diner. No sign, no number, just the glow. It was subtle, easily missed, like a silent invitation intended only for those truly seeking. The glow pulsed, almost imperceptibly mirroring the one from the QR code. As I approached, a soft, almost imperceptible hum emanated from behind the door. It wasn't music, not precisely, more like a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to settle deep within my bones. I reached for the handle. It was cool to the touch, smooth, almost slick. The door wasn't locked. It opened with a soft, nearly silent click, revealing not a bustling bar, but a narrow, unlit corridor leading into profound darkness. The air inside was heavy, thick with an unidentifiable scent, old wood, damp earth, something metallic, and a faint, sweet, cloying perfume, like wilting flowers. My instincts screamed at me to retreat, but the powerful urge to uncover the truth, to understand the vanishing act, captured on video, was overwhelming. I stepped inside, and the door swung shut behind me with a soft, final thud. The world outside ceased to exist. The corridor was shorter than I anticipated, perhaps 20 feet long, culminating in another heavy, velvet curtain. I pushed through the curtain and found myself within the Backroom Bar. It bore no resemblance to my expectations. No neon lights, no pounding music, just dim, amber lighting from low-hanging lamps, casting long, unsettling shadows. The walls were covered in dark, ornate wallpaper, peeling in places, revealing glimpses of bare brick beneath. There were no windows, no visible exits, other than the curtain through which I had just passed. The air grew progressively colder with each step I took into the room, a chilling dampness seeping into my skin. A handful of patrons sat at scattered, dark wooden tables, each illuminated by a single flickering candle. They were eerily silent, most staring blankly into their drinks, or at the wall, their faces utterly unreadable. Their stillness was unsettling, but profound blankness that bordered on catatonia. I tried to initiate a conversation with the man at the adjacent table. He was elderly, with wisps of white hair and a deeply lined face. He stared straight ahead, his eyes fixed on the mural. "Excuse me," I began, my voice feeling unnaturally loud in the quiet room. "Do you frequent this establishment?" He did not respond. His gaze remained unwavering. I tried again, a little louder. Still nothing. It was like addressing a sculpture. I moved on to another patron, a woman in her late 20s, dressed in what appeared to be business attire. She too ignored me, her focus seemingly lost in the flickering candlelight. Their silence was oppressive, a heavy blanket that smothered any sound of my own. Behind a long, polished mahogany bar, a man with a weary face and eyes that seemed to hold the weight of centuries meticulously wiped down a glass. His movements were slow, deliberate, almost mechanical. He looked up at me as I approached, his gaze piercing, as if he could see into my very being. He possessed a prominent scar running from his temple down to his jaw. "Welcome," he said, his voice a low rasp like gravel, dragging over concrete. "First time?" I nodded. "The drinks are on the house. Find a seat. Enjoy the atmosphere." He gestured vaguely with a rag. I located an empty table in a corner, discreetly pulling out my voice recorder and camera, placing them carefully on the surface. This place felt like a meticulously crafted trap, and I was the willing target. The only sound was the distant, ever-present hum I'd felt outside, a subtle vibration that seemed to emanate from the very walls. As I settled in, something else caught my attention. On the wall directly opposite me, almost concealed within the shadows, was a faded mural. It depicted a series of stylized, almost faceless figures, reaching out, their hands grasping at something unseen. Below them, a swirling vortex. It was unsettling, abstract, yet strangely captivating. This wasn't just a bar, it was a place where people came to unbecome. The bartender brought me a drink without me even asking, a deep crimson liquid in a heavy glass, garnished with a single dark cherry. It looked like red wine, but smelled faintly of something metallic, like minerals, and something sweet, like overripe fruit. I took a cautious sip. It was surprisingly smooth, with a strange, lingering aftertaste. It tasted unlike anything I'd ever encountered, yet it was oddly compelling. I observed that the other patrons were all consuming the same liquid, their glasses either half empty or untouched. Their eyes remained vacant, their movements minimal. Near the back, almost concealed by a large, ornate pillar, stood an ancient arcade machine. Its glass was dull, covered in a fine layer of dust, and a faint, almost invisible script was etched into its surface. I leaned closer, straining my eyes. In the dim light, the words became clearer. "Remember who you are." It was the machine from the legend, the one my subscriber had mentioned. It stood there, dark and inert, an ominous sentinel in a room filled with forgotten souls. I approached the arcade machine, my heart beating a frantic rhythm against my ribs. It was ancient, likely from the 1980s, its cabinet worn and chipped. The joystick was missing, and the buttons were fused with grime. But the mirrored screen, it was pristine. Despite the layer of dust, I wiped a patch clean with my sleeve, revealing my own reflection staring back at me. And then, for a split second, I saw something else, a flicker in the mirror, a shadowy figure standing directly behind me, too tall, too gaunt, its face obscured by profound darkness. I spun around, but nothing was there, just the quiet, empty bar, and the unmoving patrons. My breath hitched in my throat. It was just a trick of the light, I told myself, a distorted reflection. But the cold dread that seeped into my bones was undeniably potent. I looked back at the mirror. My reflection was there, but it seemed different. My eyes looked hollow, my skin paler, and the words, "Remember who you are," seemed to pulse with a faint internal light. I ran my fingers over the etched letters. They felt cold, strangely smooth, almost oily. I pulled my hand back, a shiver tracing its way through me. As I stood there, a faint, almost inaudible whisper drifted from the mirror. It sounded like my name, but distorted, elongated, like an echo in a vast, empty chamber. Then another whisper, closer this time, just behind my ear. "Liam, you remember, don't you?" I spun around again, searching the shadows. No one. The bartender remained at the counter, wiping glasses, his back to me. The patrons maintained their frozen tableau. The whispers grew louder, weaving together, forming a cacophony of voices that seemed to emanate from the very air around me. They spoke of forgotten moments, of childhood anxieties, of past regrets. Each voice seemed to pluck at a different thread of my identity, attempting to unravel me. I gripped my camera, attempting to focus on the mirror, on anything that could explain what was happening. The lens fogged instantly. I wiped it, but the fog returned, thicker, clinging. It was as if the very air was conspiring against me. The whispers intensified, and I felt a strange dizziness wash over me, a disorientation that made my head spin. I stumbled back, my hand instinctively reaching for the curtain through which I had entered. It was gone, replaced by a solid, unyielding wall. The exit was sealed, just as the opening words had ominously warned. I was trapped. A sharp, cold panic began to settle in. I frantically patted the wall where the curtain had been, searching for any seam, any latch. Nothing. It was solid, seamless stone. I turned to the bartender, my voice a desperate croak. "The exit. Where's the exit?" He looked at me, his scarred face unreadable. He slowly placed his rag down. "There is no exit. Not anymore," he stated, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. "Not until the game is over." He leaned forward, his elbows on the bar, his gaze fixed on mine. "You're new here, aren't you? You still have your memories. They haven't found you yet." He gestured vaguely at the silent patrons. "They've lost theirs, bit by bit, until there's nothing left." My mind raced, trying to process his chilling words. What are you talking about? What game?" He sighed, a deep, weary sound. "The echo. It hunts. It feeds on memories, on who you are." He began to speak, his voice a low, hypnotic drone, recounting a story that felt ancient and profoundly unsettling. He'd been the bartender here for what felt like an eternity, he claimed. Not 30 years, but countless decades. He'd witnessed innumerable faces come and go, watched them fade, become empty vessels. He was a survivor, or perhaps a reluctant guardian. He had learned to coexist with the echo, this parasitic entity that haunted the bar. It manifested as a whisper, a shadow, a forgotten fear. It thrived on confusion, on self-doubt, on the digital isolation that pervaded modern society. The QR code, the vanishing club, it was all part of a sophisticated trap designed to lure in those who were already detached, already searching for something to fill a void. He spoke of an old forgotten group, a cult, that had once revered a similar entity in the depths beneath San Francisco. They believed it could grant them an enduring existence, but instead it consumed them, leaving behind only the hollow shells of their bodies. The Backroom Bar, he claimed, was built upon the remnants of their ancient temple, a place where the veil between worlds was thin. He was a caretaker, he said, ensuring the echo didn't escape by keeping it appeased. The patrons were not victims, but offerings. This wasn't merely a place for recreation. It was a chilling, ongoing ritual. I staggered back from the bar, the bartender's unsettling words reverberating in my mind. A cult, a parasitic entity, a memory feeder. It sounded like a fever dream, but the cold, empty eyes of the patrons, the sealed exit, the whispers from the mirror, they all converged into a horrifying reality. Why me? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Why invite me here? The bartender's gaze hardened. You sought the truth, the echo responds. It has chosen you. I turned back to the mirrored arcade machine, a terrible fascination drawing me in. The whispers were louder now, a chaotic chorus of forgotten names and faces, of half-remembered dreams and anxieties. I pressed my hand against the cold glass. My reflection stared back, but it was no longer solely mine. It shifted, distorted, morphing into faces I knew and faces I feared. My grandmother, her face etched with concern. Then a bully from elementary school, his sneer sickeningly familiar. Then a fleeting glimpse of my own face from a younger, more hopeful time. It was a horrifying montage of my past, flickering in the reflection. Suddenly, a voice, clear and sharp, cut through the cacophony. It was my father's voice. Liam, remember who you are. It was a phrase he used to say to me when I was a child, whenever I felt lost or confused. A small, tarnished, silver locket, something he had given me as a child, something I always carried, grew warm against my chest. It was a simple, unassuming object, containing a faded photo of my parents. I clutched it, focusing on its solid weight, on the tangible connection to my past, to who I was. The whispers faltered for a moment, as if momentarily repelled by the locket's warmth. The bartender, Silas, watched me, his eyes narrowed. You have something that grounds you, he observed, his voice less raspy now. The memory, a connection, that is your shield. He explained that the echo hunted those who had lost their anchors, their sense of self. In the digital age, where identities were fluid and connections often superficial, people became easier prey. The bar acted as a funnel, drawing in the isolated, the lonely, the ones who were already questioning their place in the world. The vanished man from my video, the one with the distinctive mark, he was likely one of them, a forgotten soul, now a vessel. Silas meticulously explained the process. The echo doesn't end lives, he stated, his voice low. It hollows. It consumes your memories, your fears, your hopes, your very identity. It leaves the body intact, a perfect shell, ready for it to inhabit. They walk, they breathe, but they are no longer themselves. He gestured to the patrons. They are all echoes now, vessels awaiting use. The implications were horrifying. The disappearances weren't disappearances at all. They were a complete erasure of identity, a slow, agonizing theft of the essence of who a person was. He told me about a hidden room, a kind of archive, where the echo stored its trophies, the stolen identities, the essence of the consumed. It was located deep within the bar, a place he rarely entered, for fear of losing himself entirely. He pointed to a small, almost invisible seam in the wall behind the bar, cleverly disguised as part of the ornate wallpaper pattern. You seek answers, he rasped. They are in there, but beware. The closer you get to the truth, the stronger its influence. My mind flashed back to the distorted image in the mirror. The shadowy figure behind me. Was that the echo, or a chilling premonition of what I might become? The locket in my hand felt heavy, a counterweight to the mounting dread. I faced a critical choice: turn and fight, or delve deeper into the terrifying truth. The skeptic in me was utterly silenced, replaced by a raw, desperate need to understand, to expose this insidious horror. I had to go into that archive. I had to find a way to resist. I moved towards the hidden seam, my steps heavy, my breath shallow. The air around me grew colder, a biting chill that seemed to seep into my very bones. The distant hum intensified, morphing into a low, guttural growl that vibrated through the floorboards. As I reached the seam, a faint, almost transparent shimmer appeared, like heat haze over asphalt. It was a barrier, a threshold into the echo's domain. I gripped the locket, its warmth a small comfort against the encroaching cold. This was no longer merely an investigation. This was a battle for my very self. I pushed against the shimmering barrier, and it parted like thick, viscous water, revealing a narrow, spiraling staircase leading downwards into profound darkness. The air was thick with a cloying scent of damp earth and something acrid, like burnt sugar. The growl intensified, echoing from below, a sound that seemed to claw at the edges of my sanity. I descended, my hand trailing along the damp, moss-covered stone wall, the only illumination coming from the faint glow of my phone's flashlight, which I had reluctantly activated. This staircase culminated in a vast, cavernous chamber. The space was filled with rows upon rows of shelves, each one overflowing with dusty ancient books, brittle scrolls, and strange archaic artifacts. But it wasn't the books that immediately seized my attention. It was the faces, hundreds, perhaps thousands of faces, etched into glass shards, into polished stones, into faded daguerreotypes. They weren't just static images. They felt alive, each one holding a ghostly echo of a personality, a life lived, a lost identity. This was the echo's archive. This was where it kept its stolen souls. I walked among the towering shelves, my flashlight beam dancing over the ghostly faces. Each one seemed to whisper a silent story of what they once were. Some looked fearful, some confused, some utterly serene, as if accepting their fate. Then I saw it, on a small, solitary pedestal in the center of the vast room, encased in a shimmering, ethereal light, was a large, multifaceted crystal. It pulsed with a faint internal glow, and within its depths, I could discern a swirling vortex of colors, blues, greens, reds, like fragmented memories. This was the heart of the echo, the terrifying repository of everything it had consumed. As I approached the crystal, the whispers intensified, surrounding me, pressing in from all sides. They weren't just random sounds now. They were distinct voices, speaking my name, questioning my purpose, trying to undermine my resolve. "Who are you, Liam?" one voice hissed, sounding like a long-lost friend. "Are you truly different from us?" Another whispered, mimicking my own inner doubts. I felt a strange, compelling pull, a desire to reach out and touch the crystal, to join the swirling vortex of forgotten identities. The locket grew intensely hot against my chest, almost searing my skin. It was the only tangible thing preventing me from succumbing to its influence. I fought fiercely against the overwhelming urge to touch the crystal, the locket's intense warmth acting as a crucial grounding force. The whispers grew more insidious, more deeply personalized. They dredged up old insecurities, past failures, moments of profound shame. They tried to convince me that my identity was a fragile construct, easily shattered. I saw the man from the video, the one with the distinctive mark, his face appearing within the crystal's depths, his eyes hollow, utterly empty. He was here, his essence irrevocably trapped, feeding the parasitic entity. I desperately needed a way to fight back, to disrupt this horrifying process. My eyes fell upon an ancient, leather-bound book on a nearby shelf. It was thick with dust, its pages brittle with age. I carefully opened it. The script was an archaic form of Latin, but interspersed were complex diagrams, cryptic symbols, and rough sketches. It appeared to be a ritual text, perhaps from the forgotten cult Silas had mentioned. One particular diagram immediately caught my eye, a series of concentric circles, radiating outwards from a central point, surrounded by a complex array of symbols. Below it, a single phrase was written in faded ink: Veritas est potentia, truth is power. The ancient text spoke of a counter-ritual, a profound way to sever the echo's connection to its victims, to force it back into a state of dormancy. It required a personal sacrifice, not of a life, but of a deeply held memory, one that defined a core aspect of who you were. It had to be offered into the crystal, a deliberate act of letting go, to overload the echo with an untainted, uncorrupted memory, one it couldn't fully process or assimilate. It was an immense gamble, a terrifying choice. Which memory could I sacrifice without utterly losing myself in the process?
My mind instantly gravitated to my very first stream, the pivotal moment I decided to pursue my passion for urban legends, to bravely step out of the shadows of my IT job. It was a transformative memory, a defining moment in my life. Relinquishing it would mean losing the very essence of what propelled me, what made me Liam Hart, the storyteller. But it was also a choice, a profound choice to fight, to protect others, to sever the echo's suffocating hold. The locket pulsed, its warmth now a searing heat. This was the moral dilemma Silas had subtly hinted at, the ultimate price for truth, my own identity, offered as a potent weapon.
I clutched the locket tightly, its intense warmth radiating through my shirt. The whispers from the crystal intensified, desperately trying to sow doubt, trying to make me question my agonizing decision. They offered me false solace, insidious promises of peace, if I simply let go, if I allowed myself to be completely consumed. But the haunting faces in the glass shards on the shelves, the hollow eyes of the patrons upstairs, they served as a stark, undeniable reminder of the true, devastating cost of surrender. I had to do this for them, for myself. I focused intensely on the memory. My very first live stream, the nervous excitement, the fumbling words, the exhilarating thrill of connecting with an audience, of sharing stories that genuinely captivated me. It was the profound genesis of Urban Echoes, the precise moment I truly discovered and embraced my voice. It was an indelible part of me, a fundamental piece of my core identity. I closed my eyes, meticulously picturing every minute detail, the cheap webcam, the makeshift backdrop, the single blinking light on my microphone. I felt the powerful surge of adrenaline, the primal fear of judgment, and the profound, undeniable sense of purpose. With a deep, shaking breath, I opened my eyes and reached out my hand towards the shimmering crystal. The whispers shrieked, a discordant symphony of 1,000 lost voices, now filled with raw, desperate fear. As my fingers lightly brushed the crystal's cold, smooth surface, I consciously, deliberately, willed the memory of my first stream, of my entire YouTube journey, to flow from me into the pulsating light. It was an agonizing sensation, like severing a vital limb, a searing pain that ripped through my very mind. I felt a significant part of myself peel away, detaching, dissolving into the swirling vortex of vibrant colors. The crystal suddenly flared, a blinding white light erupting from its very core. The guttural growling stopped abruptly. The relentless whispers ceased completely, replaced by a profound, deafening silence. The light pulsed, then slowly began to recede, drawing back into the crystal, pulling the shadowy tendrils of the echo with it. The faces on the shelves flickered, their ghostly presences seeming to waver, to become less defined, almost fading. The air cleared instantly, losing its oppressive weight, replaced by a faint, almost sweet aroma, like ozone after a powerful storm. I stumbled back, my hand still throbbing from the intense connection, my mind reeling from the profound experience. A vast, empty space had been irrevocably carved out inside me, where that defining memory once resided. It was gone, but I was still here. I was still Liam Hart. I slowly climbed the spiral staircase, my legs heavy, my head light. The silence in the bar was profound now, broken only by the faint rhythmic ticking of an unseen clock. The oppressive cold had lifted, replaced by a strangely neutral temperature. When I pushed through the velvet curtain, the bar was still dimly lit, but something had changed. The patrons were still there, slumped at their tables, but their blankness seemed softer, less predatory, like old discarded dolls. Silas, the bartender, was standing behind the bar, his hands resting on the polished wood. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes, besides weary resignation, a flicker of recognition, perhaps even relief. "You did it," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "You pushed it back. For now," he explained, that the echo was never truly destroyed. It was an ancient force, bound to this place, but it could be weakened, driven back into dormancy, allowing the stolen identities to slowly, painfully begin to reform. The patrons, he said, were not saved, not truly. They would slowly regain fragmented memories, but their core identity, the one consumed by the echo, would forever be altered, leaving them perpetually adrift, a haunting echo of their former selves. The exit, the solid wall that had sealed me in, was now gone. In its place, the velvet curtain hung limply, beckoning. I stumbled through it, into the short corridor, and then pushed open the black door. The San Francisco night air, crisp and cool, hit me like a physical blow. The city lights seemed blinding. After the dimness of the bar, I was outside. I was free, but I was also profoundly, irrevocably changed. The memory of my first stream, of my entire journey with urban echoes, was a blank space in my mind. I knew I had a YouTube channel. I knew its purpose, but the emotional resonance, the personal connection to its inception, was gone. It was a chilling testament to the echo's power. As I walked home, the city a blur around me, my mind a storm of fragmented thoughts. I felt like a puzzle with a piece missing, a fundamental part of my story erased. The man from the video, the one with the distinctive mark, I knew his face. I remembered the footage, but the driving force behind my initial investigation, the personal urgency, had been muted. The echo hadn't taken my life, but it had taken a piece of my soul. It had taken a part of who I was, leaving a hollow space that hummed with a quiet, persistent dread. The Backroom Bar still exists somewhere within the labyrinthine streets of San Francisco. I haven't been back. I can't. But I know it's there, lurking, patiently waiting for its next unsuspecting visitor. The echo is not gone. It's merely dormant, biding its time, slowly regaining its terrifying strength. The patrons, the hollow shells of people, are still within its unsettling walls, slowly, painstakingly rebuilding shattered identities, forever marked by the parasitic entity. Their journey back to themselves will be long, arduous, and perhaps never truly complete. As for me, I continue urban echoes. I still meticulously investigate, but the burning passion, the personal stake I once felt, is now tempered by a profound, almost existential weariness. The world of urban legends and unexplained disappearances no longer feels like a fascinating hobby. It feels like a grim, undeniable reality, a constant, uphill battle against forces that seek to strip us of our very essence. I look at my reflection sometimes, searching for the ghost of that lost memory, the crucial piece of me that was sacrificed. It's a constant, chilling reminder of the extraordinary price I paid for the truth, and a terrifying thought relentlessly lingers. If the echo needed one memory, one piece of my identity, to be subdued this time, what will it demand the next time it awakens? The lines between tangible reality and chilling nightmare, between the physical world and the intangible, have blurred irrevocably for me. The digital age, with its endless flow of information and constant superficial connection, has also fostered a new kind of insidious isolation, a profound vulnerability that entities like the echo expertly exploit. Be exceptionally careful what you seek in the dark, hidden corners of the internet. Be wary of fleeting QR codes and hidden bars, because sometimes the greatest horror isn't what you see, it's what you irreversibly forget and what you chillingly become. Share this story, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more echoes from the forgotten corners of our world. Stay safe out there, and remember who you are.